Hey, hello. I thought I'd try to do another graphic. I'm trying to do graphics daily now, trying to make more daily videos. Really simple graphics I'm trying to achieve. So I thought I'd try to take a look at maybe doing a graphic stat that involves maybe using a player with their profile and they've got stats. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. There's tons of examples of people's work and what they've done. We'll go for something simple. I kind of like this simple. I mean, I like these ones, but I want to maybe go for something like this with the bars, and we'll see what we do. We'll see what we do anyway. So let's go. To get started, I'm using Photoshop. So to create some of my assets that I'll need to bring into Ventuz. Of course, I need a player, which that's my player I've picked. I just found online, and I've also gone ahead and, if this loads, I've gone to Brush Easy, if I'm saying that right or wrong, and I just downloaded a few different paint brushes, some different effects like splashes that I can apply as just so I can create assets to bring to Ventuz. So the first step is we've got the player already there, ready as a PNG. So I want to create a canvas. I'm going to go for like a 1024. A new layer. Now I want my black background to be black. And you'll see why in a second. So on my new layer, I'm going to have a load of new layers. And I'm just going to apply a white splash or a white paint brush. So using, you'll see in a second what I'm trying to explain. But for example, take a paintbrush. Just find one that I kind of like. So for example, this one. And I scale it to my canvas size. Just fits within. Bam. And I'm just using they're all going to be using the color white. So I'll just turn this off for now. Make a new layer. And then choose another brush. So we're creating some assets that we can import in. So we're going to take these paint brushes and these splashes and all sorts into Ventuz, and then we'll position them and change the color. So we're doing it white because we can apply material inside Ventuz rather than having the textures already colored. So I've got a few different splashes. I've got these. Let's see. Let's check what we got. What have we got? We got some interesting ones. Let's get a new one. Now these seem a bit more controlled. Again, bring down the brush size, just so it fits in the canvas. There we go. Another layer. Let's go for, let's see what we got. Let's go for this one. This one looks cool. Make a nice background one possibly. We'll see. We'll just play around with what we use. Let's try this. Maybe some dispersed brushes. Let's see. Let's go to our disperse paint effects. Disperse. So I've got a few of these ones. They're just like little particles, almost like it's breaking off. And let's do a new one. We don't need too many. Just make sure we have a variety of different ones that don't look all the same. There we go. This one's kind of cool. Okay. And let's go one more. Let's do one more. I could be here all day going for different ones. Perhaps I'll go for another paint. kind of went for that one already. Yeah, this one looks cool. So use this one. There we go. So I think we should have enough to get started. If I turn all the layers on, see, there, and let's get rid of the background, we don't need that. So what I'm going to do is just go File, Export, and then I'll say Layers to Files, please, and then it'll say Browse for where do you want to save them. I'm going to just say this NFL folder, NFL player folder. I'm going to name it Splash, because all our splashes kind of. And PNG is fine, transparency, and I'll hit run. And what it'll do is just, it'll save off each layer as a PNG file, which is cool. Saves you from doing individual. And once it's done, a pop-up window will say, oh yeah, there you go. Export layers to file was successful. Okay, so now you could keep that if you want. I'm going to close it. I mean, if we need to create more, we can create more. So we've got a player, so I need to save my player off. So I'll say save as PNG. Actually, what I'll do before I do that, I'll trim the empty white space. Trim transparent pixels. And now I'll save as a PNG. And I can call this player. There we go. Hit OK. Now we're pretty much ready to create a new scene. It's an empty scene. We need an axis. And we need a rectangle. Now if I scale this rectangle up, and what I can do is take the player and drag it into the Ventuz scene. There. And it will automatically apply it to material and load that texture into its place with PNG. It knows that's a base with alpha. So I'm going to say no light. Now I'm going to adjust this to maybe 0.8 just to get the proportions right. Now scale this up. Okay, so this is our starting list. We've got the player, so you can name this player, for example, if you want. Now I'm going to duplicate this player, name this Splash, and we'll just delete that. And I'm going to Splash 1. Now I'm going to duplicate. Let's check how many splashes we actually created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to right click, drag down. Right click and drag down will bring up this menu. So if I hold down the right mouse button and I release and go more, I can say copy. I want 7 more, please. So now I have 8 splashes ready. And what I can do is go to each texture, just drag them into the Ventuz, and then position them. Oh, okay. When you double click, you get that preview, Windows preview. But just drag each one. I'm just dragging them into the scene in front of the rectangles, like so. The cool thing is, because we've done them, we saved the textures all as white textures. We can assign the colors in here in Ventuz rather than you know, having them in Photoshop and then you have to go back to Photoshop to change the color, change that texture. You know, you can do it all in here if you just have a, you know, just a white texture and apply the material. So I've selected all these materials, and what I'm going to do is just select them all in the content window together. Under lighting model, I'll just change it to no light. Now, because they was using inherit, I could have put a material right at the top of the tree as well, and then they would inherit the no light from there. One second, I'll just close my door. Okay, so we've got our splashes. Now what I'm going to do is just rearrange some of these splashes. So let's actually just maybe scale these all down. So I'm going to select them all, shift select them all. Like this, change the scale all. And I'm just going to push them to the right for now. Now I can go around and play around with the scaling and, you know, to get it right. I think one by one they should be right because they were all 1024 by 1024 textures, so they should just fit in the square anyway. So let's move the first one across, and take a look what we have. So we've got this kind of brush stroke kind of coming out. Now I might want to move this to the arm or shoulder. Let's see, from this, let's rotate it. I'll say I want it from this direction. I don't know. Actually, it looks like it's going from the left, so I'm going to rotate it that way. Perhaps it's coming from his arm. Let's say that's coming from his arm, or his shoulder, let's say. And what I'm going to do is go to the color and the base color, and then I'm going to just reference the color picker just to match his shirt color. So just taking his team colors. And I get splash 2. I'm going to bring this across. Or maybe this one, maybe we'll get this from the helmet. Say this is coming out of his helmet or something, you know, and then I'll match that color to similar colors to his helmet. I'll just use the color picker. So we've got this kind of blue, and then I'll go to the next one, and you'll see I'll just repeat this same process. Perhaps I'll leave this one white, and this is coming from his pants maybe. So on his right leg, like this. Something like that. You know, you can play around with the scale of that. Let's go for this one. So now this one's an interesting one. I like this one, but I want to put this as a background. So I'm going to move this to the top of the tree, so it sits behind him. Just push it back in Z. And we're going to give this, say, a color. So let's go for a blue, lighter blue. Something like this. Just so, you know, push him out from the background, you know, bring him forward. And I might duplicate a few more, but we'll see. So what we've got this one. Okay, this one. What's the next one? Perhaps this is coming from his arm. So let's just position this next to his arm. Something like this. It could be, that's the paint coming off his arm. So we take the colors, color picker, and then it's kind of like, you know, washing his arm. Now you can scale this a little bit. Perhaps you want to change the color a little bit, match his forearm a bit better. There we go. Something like that. And get another one. Perhaps we put this one on his left side. Like this. And this is an orange. I would take an orange. And you can see what I'm kind of doing. I'm kind of building this up. So I'm creating a composition from the textures. And this one I kind of like too. Let's see. Scale this down. I like this one. Maybe I'll put this one on the inside, perhaps. I don't know. On his helmet, just on the right of his helmet or something as well. And just give this color blue. We might have to adjust that, but scale this a little bit. And I'll just tweak that blue. There we go. Maybe I'll go for slightly darker. Then we've got one more, the last splash here. Now again, I'm going to duplicate this because I like this one and move it to the back, but I'm also going to keep one in the front. And I'll use this, maybe this, some orange coming from his collar. And we'll just use that orange here, you know. And now this one, the back, I'm going to scale up, push it back in Z. There we go. Now we've got something interesting, and make it bigger, slightly bigger, and then give it another color. Let's go for another blue, but darker blue. There we go. Now it kind of it's popping. Now the cool thing is I'm gonna put axis to group them all. Sorry, let's do that again. An axis, and so they're all parented to 1. So now if we rotate, now we got some flickering because of the Z sort. So what we're going to do, our background's pretty good. We can push this back a bit more. And now we just got to sort out the Z space with the splashes in the front of the player. So let's bring these forward so they're not clipping into him. And all we have to do is make sure we do this, just bring them forward a tiny bit, then deselect the next one, bring it forward, deselect the next one, bring it forward. Then you just do just a tiny bit at a time. And there you go. And then we shouldn't have any clipping going on. There we go. We've created this kind of depth. And if I change, for example, the Z on the scale, you can see the distance between each one. Now you could put some of them on the same Z space if you want. Now you can add more paint layers, or you can add, but the cool thing is, because we've used the textures are all just white textures, we can control the materials of that, so we don't need to keep on going Photoshop. I mean, you can do that, but it's just a lot easier. I can now go to right click this if I want to say merge to container, for example. Let me take this axis out, Control X, and paste it in front of the container. And I can call this player, for example. And then if I want, I could expose these colors out. So I could expose, say, the color, base color, I'll expose all these base colors out. Like so. And then I could expose this player texture as well. Let's expose the file. So now if I want, I can edit these without going in. I can just change the colors here, tweak them. Perhaps I say, okay, I want this one to be like now red, or you can go in and tweak it really easy, and it's not a problem. There you go. The cool thing is as well, what you can do is, say for example you had another player and it was a different team, you could probably link, say you have a team colors, and you could standardize these colors so that it looks at a database and says this team is orange and blue, and then the next team is red and yellow, and then these colors could be changing depending on what it's getting from the database, or what which player's been loaded in. So you could do something like that. Anyway, let's add a little bit more to this anyway. So we kind of got like a cool player thing made over here. Now I do want to add a bit more in there. I want to go back in the container. I want to just take this splash here and maybe put it on his other arm. And then I'll tweak that color. And then maybe I want some other splashes, so I'm just reusing some of these splash textures and just positioning them, scaling it. Now I want some kind of variation, maybe one on his shoulder pad, or there we go, one up here. Can be really small, it doesn't need to be massive, but there we go. And I'll just adjust that color as well. And if I want, I can expose that base color. Same goes for that one. Just expose the color out. There we go. So now we have a kind of nice graphic that we can edit and animate the layers if you wanted. You can push them to the side, scale them up. Actually, you see that hard edge on the player? Let's soften this. So let's go to the player texture, the player material. And let's just add texture opacity. And we're going to use the opacity texture. And then the loader, I want to use, let's go for this alpha glow balanced. And we just adjust the 2D mapping to UV0. I'm going to scale this up and then just change the Y position. I might have to scale the X a bit more and then the Y. You're just going to play around with the mapping. So I want it pretty big and then just move it up. Is it going to do what I want? I just want to mask the bottom here. Probably not the right texture to be using, but there you go. Something like this, perhaps, just to soften the edge there, so it's not as hard. If you have a better texture, you know, you can get much nicer. Or I could have used a gradient, to be honest. I could have used a 2D gradient. We could do that now. Could have just done. I could have done, instead of the loader, could have done maybe 2D gradient. Then I have control over that, and then reset that. Go to the 2D gradient. Now I have control. I have a lot more control over this gradient, and I can change the bottom half of that texture. There you go. Same thing. I just thought of it right now. I wasn't thinking clear, but there you go. There's so many ways of doing it. So many. Sorry if the motorbikes are going past, but there you go. We've got a nice layered graphic. So let's push him to the side. Maybe we want to add some additional text or something. So this parent, we've got this parent, so let's just add a text 2D or something. This could be his number 23, like he's got there. So you can put like 23, or it could be his name, or whatever you want. I'll just go for a number just to keep it simple. I'm going to just change the Z, just bring him forward. Something like this. Go into fonts. Now you can browse your fonts. I should have some already in Neo. Not. Let's go to, I think, Freshman. Freshman seems to work pretty well. Let's go to Freshman. F. Where's F? Freshman. But yeah, import that into the project. Save. The cool thing is, if you let's say a color, I want this to be a flat color with no light. And what we can do is we can apply styles. There's some cool styles you can use. The styles are quite cool. You can play around. You can like say I want neon green, or you could say I want just the outline, or you know, contrast, fine line, neon. You experiment which one you like. Let's go for this. I'll go for this. Is it 3D outline or let's see, not this one. Which one was this? Contour. I'll go for this contour one. And you can edit the preferences, so you can go edit, and then you can change, say, the color. So say maybe I want this to be orange, for example, to match his team. It just knows, so it's not overwriting the default ones, but there you go. Nothing complicated. We can add a little bit of animation to this, so we can add like a swing to this, so it just moves back and forth. You might want to position this better. There we go. Number 23. So I'll grab a mover, and I'll just have this animate like so. And you can change these values. Probably easier if I get the value myself. So if I say, okay, I want it from -40 to -16. Minus 40 to 16. I think it was -16, did I say? We'll see. See, either -16 or 16. Yeah, it was minus. There you go. And then I can change the duration. Then I can change the cosine or something. There you go. You can play around with the speed of that. And you got a nice little graphic. Alright, looks cool. So what else could you do for it? I mean, you can add all your post effects as well, don't forget. So we can add post effects, you know, like I want to say, oh, I want to add the glow. I always add the glow. I like glow. I mean, it's probably not necessary, but it just looks cool. But bam. Expand the diameter on that. I'm gonna add the gradient layer as a background, and let's just add backdrop. So we have a backdrop here. Go for dark blue and blue or dark. I want it dark still, but there we go. I think something like that looks cool. Right, you know, so you'll see me use distortion barrels or the radial ones. Just makes it look cool, but again, not a necessary effect. But look, you can get this cool, just looks cool. I love that effect. The like this lens distortion almost. But I'll turn that off for now. Okay, so let's push this to the side. So we've got player, and then let's just add some bars for stats. Let's just create that. It's a really simple graphic. We're not going to do anything too fancy. So let's add a title. So we can reuse this text here we've already got. I'm just going to control and drag this down here. And let's take a look at what they normally have in the stats. So the stats is like top 5 NFL passing rates, or let's see, or what else have they got? Offense, week 1 offense. Maybe that we'll go for something like that. Or week 1. It can be anything. I don't really know enough about the NFL. I can create graphics for it, but there we go. Week 1. Perhaps I want to just knock down the gain. There we go. Cool. And then you can add some bars. So you can just say, just go axes, rectangle. On the rectangle, I'm going to say the line to bottom. So when it scales from the bottom. And position the bottom. So set my bottom of the frame. I'll scale the X, say something like this. And then I have bar like there, and I have another one. And perhaps this one's like this, and then the next bar is, you know, even though it could be like, it doesn't matter, doesn't it? We're just making it up. This is not real data or anything, but just showing you how easy it is. And writing graphics itself is not hard. So let's go for some of these colors. So they kind of went like red and then gray. Let's go for that. So they went. So instead of red, we'll go for the orange. I'll go for this orange, and then these will be grayed out. I think. I feel this would work better. And again, I think that's way too powerful. Bring that down. There we go. So I got my 3 bars, fake data, or whatever it's fake, whatever it is. I'm going to duplicate the text again, and this time I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, place it over the bar, or something, I don't know. Month. the stats. I don't know. It can be anything, but and then I can just do week 1, week 2, week 3, or something like that. So that's my first bar text, and you know this one could say week 2. Make sure you spell 2 right. Then we got 2, and week 3. Again, you can scale this to fit. Pretty 3. Bam. Perhaps I want these to be like that. There we go. You can even, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, looks good. Maybe these ones are white. Yeah, because this is maybe the highlighted one. These ones are just grayed out. But yeah, you could, and then you could turn that into 3D space if you wanted. So you can group all of those. You got so many possibilities of what you can do. You know, I'm just kind of making it up now, but you can see it doesn't all have to be flat graphics. It can be, you can turn flat graphics into like 3D graphics. You know, by changing the space that they sit in. Can offset these if you wanted, like so, and then you know change that back to all. You know, I can play around all day and make it different layouts. But hopefully this was a short enough tutorial. You know, and kind of it was some help at least. You know, just show you how quick you can make a graphic, how easy it is. I mean, we just made some basic assets. We just took brushstrokes from Photoshop, adjusted them inside Ventuz, you know, added some depth to the image, softened it, and then you could make this read from a database if you wanted later on. It depends on what you're doing with it, but yeah, so display could change, and so the colors could too. Hopefully that helped, and we just created some additional quick, just put some bars as a fixed graphic. But if you wanted them to be functional, then you just link data to them, and you know you could do that all. But that's a different thing. I'm not going into data. We're just looking at just building some graphics, simple graphics. I mean, we could do this if you want some movement. You know, say okay, Y 15, the max, and then the minimum. Let's go for a minimum of like 5.8. And we take that Y value, bam. You can have that, you know. You can animate those. You can do so much quick animations using movers and without having to do anything. And I can copy this if I want. Copy, paste. And then I'll just simply offset. Different speeds, perhaps. Because if it's a stat, it wouldn't be moving like this. But I'm just showing you how quick you can animate flat graphics and turn them into like something more interesting. And there you go. You can transition into it. You can fly into it. All sorts. So I'll call it end here. Again, thank you. Hopefully it was some use. You know, if you want, you can even do that and then transition to the player, and then you talk about the stat. You can rotate this completely like this and rotate him or push him to the side. There you go. So you can transition between graphics. And you can have so much fun with this. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and it was some use. and I hope to make another one tomorrow and upload that. Until then, have a good night or evening. Thank you. Remember, if you can, hit the subscribe button. And I'd like to again see people's work. Like to share your work, whatever you're learning or creating. Share it, post it at the bottom, the links. And if you can hit the subscribe, that helps me grow. Again, thank you. Take it easy.